Greeting to all or everybody. Welcome to APO Productivity Talk. I am Junho Kim from APO, ASEAN Productivity Organization. APO is intergovernmental organization established 60 years ago to increase productivity in the Asia Pacific region. APO is shaping the future of the region in formulating national productivity plan and also strategy, and supporting institutional capacity building, and also developing productivity-related research as a think tank on productivity. One of the key role of APO activities is human resource development on productivity to increase productivity for the area of industry, agriculture, service, and public sector. Human capital is the key factor to the competitiveness of organizations and companies. Today, we would like to talk about human capital development, especially for SMEs, along with its role in enabling sustainability and addressing complex challenges faced by SMEs. We invited expert Dr. Hemant Kumar Rao from National Productivity Council, India. Dr. Kumar is an expert in human capital development for SMEs and also for MSMEs. Hello, Dr. Kumar. Thank you for joining our productivity talk today. Will you please introduce yourself and what activities you are doing in NPC, National Productivity Council, to improve productivity for SMEs? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Junho Kim. Actually, first of all, very good morning to all of you. I wish you a very happy new year. National Productivity Council is a national level organization to promote productivity culture in India, which was established by Ministry of Industry, Government of India in the year 1958. It's under Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce Industry, Government of India, which functions with a mission to contribute to the sustainable, inclusive, socio-economic development of the country by enhancing productivity, by becoming the knowledge leader in productivity to provide state-of-art services to the Indian economy to become globally competitive. When you talk broad objectives of NPC India, which includes promoting innovation, led productivity in a sustained manner in all spheres of national economy through a holistic and inclusive approach by addressing the triple bottom line, that is economic, environmental, and social. NPC acts as a catalyst in institution building and developing platforms for collaborating networking to strengthen the productivity movement and think tank by providing productivity-related evidence-based policy support and advice, and while tracking the emerging trends. NPC, through its various divisions, we have various divisions like Economic Services, Industrial Engineering, Process Management Group, Information Technology, Environment Management, Agribusiness Management, Energy Management, International Services, and one of the Department of Human Resource Management. With this, today I'm joined for discussing on human capital development for SMEs. So thank you very much, Mr. Junho Kim, for giving this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kumar. Today's topic is the human capital development for SMEs. Thank you again for joining our productivity talk. So will you please introduce overall concept of human capital development and areas to develop human resources, and also how to overcome challenges to develop human capacity in SMEs and also in MSMEs. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Junho Kim, once again. Actually, let me go with the slides and let me go with the presentation. Today, we are discussing about human capital development for SMEs and MSMEs, actually. When you talk about human capital management, we have three different words: human, capital, and development. So when you understand this human, and it's ultimately the people who are doing and who are performing. So whether it's any organization, especially SMEs and MSMEs, where human capital development plays a very, very vital and important role, pivotal role actually, I will say, we are going to discuss about the main aspects of what exactly and how exactly we have to develop SMEs through human capital. It's the people who are going to, make or break the organization. It's not something else. So how important its human capital development is all for SMEs. That's today we are going to see. The very first slide which I will talk about is what is human, what is capital, and what is development. When we talk about human, it's people, people working in the organization. When we talk about capital, it's nothing to do with money here. It's the assets of the organizations. And we talk about the development, until and unless the assets of our organization, who are the people who are not developed as a whole, no organization can grow or sustain in this particular market. It's not possible. So with this concept, let's understand the basics first, and then we'll go with further details actually. So what do you mean by human capital development? Human capital development is an umbrella term, yeah, which covers talent acquisition, talent management, and talent optimization. What do you mean by talent acquisitions? You might be hearing a lot of jargons here, but talent acquisition, what do you mean by talent management, and what do you mean by talent optimization? Talent management or talent acquisition is getting the people on board. That's the very first point. Second is talent management, managing the people from recruitment to the retirement, or maybe from procurement or from acquisition to the separation stage. And the third thing is talent optimization. We are all from productivity organizations. We all want, productive people. We all want our organizations to be productive. So when we talk about organizations to be productive, our people should be optimally utilized. If not, then it will not be. Our growth may not be, or growth will be hampered. The dynamics of the workplace trinity demands that we relook at people process. What do you mean by people processes? The people processes is a system. It's a set of rules and regulations, systems. And go back to the basics and explore what human capital development is in today's context. And all this while preparing for the changes yet to come. So what do you mean by that? So it's nothing but we have to undergo, or we have to see the turmoils in the market, and we are preparing ourselves for the talent acquisition, talent management, talent optimization, with the process, with the people's process systems at the place, for what? For the coming changes in the world. Let's go further. Let's just think something more about it. Let's discuss something more about it. Understand, because we have a lot of depth actually, which will be going further actually. A human capital development is a set of practices. You heard it. What does it mean by practices? It's a set of rules and regulations related to people resource management. Again, I'm saying people. It's people resource reusable resource management. So when we talk about people resource management, to deal with the people, uh, especially that is what is called people resource management, and to develop them. And these practices are focused on the organizational need to provide specific competencies. In the last slide, we have talked about change, prepared for the change management, workplace trinity, people processes, and talent management, optimization, and talent acquisition. Here also we are going to see workforce acquisition, work management, and workforce optimization. But here we are emphasizing on various aspects of competencies, and today world talks about this because we require competent people to do extraordinary things. So technical competencies, managerial competencies, functional competencies, and strategic competencies. Basically, when you talk about strategic competencies are for the top level bosses, for the top management. uh, because they have to formulate how they formulate the various strategies, how to for the day-to-day basis, on the day-to-day basis. When you talk about the managerial and functional, it is not only related with the level 1, level 2, or level 3 level of people in the organization. It deals with each and every person in the organization, especially working with MSMEs and SMEs, actually, where we don't have a very large workforce. So each and every individual has to be having this managerial competencies and the functional competencies. Especially when you talk about technical competencies, yes, these are basically the competencies which is for the people who are executing the work. So at the execution level, maybe at the below level, that's most important. So maybe a welder should have a very excellent qualities of how he does it. When you talk about the units, the production of units, how much he produces. But the question is here, what is the efficiency and effectiveness also? It's not just production, it has to be productivity. So when we talk about the understanding the next bit, so human capital development is a set of practices an organization uses for recruiting, managing, developing, and optimizing employees to increase their value to the organizations. Now, if you understand here, we talked about managing change, we talked about various competencies, we talked about talent acquisition, talent optimization, and talent management. But here, when we talk about this, we are talking about recruitment, we are talking about managing, we are talking about developing, and we are talking about optimizing employees to increase their increase their values to the organizations. It means whatever they contribute, it all should be ultimately uh, go to the values or better for the organizations. Otherwise there is no meaning for the people or human capital development. So human capital development results in what? Hiring the right talent. We talked about competency mapping, various competencies. So hiring the right talent, having all needed skills set in the company's workforce. People should have a skill sets, managing employee effectively, and increasing productivity. So human capital developments in uh, the areas like right person for the right thing, for the right person for the right job at the right time, for the betterment of the organization as well as for the individual benefits. So we have seen now, if you see the nutshell, what exactly human capital development is, it's planning, organizing, directing, controlling, which we generally call as a management functions. And we talk about operative functions, which I would say there are the 6 pillars which talks about human capital management, and that is procurement, development, compensation, integration, maintenance, and separation of human capital. If you want in the managerial functions, you can always add, another 3, for example, like coordination, reporting, and budgeting. You can add that because that also a very essence of the managerial functions in SMEs actually, because they have they have to do budgeting, they have to do the sort of a reporting and coordination, which is the essence because of various legal aspects too. So, but when you talk about human capital development, these are the 6 main pillars on that this human capital development stands. And what are those 6 priorities? That is characteristics, and that is or pillars. That is procurement, development, compensation, integration, maintenance, and separation. But exactly what exactly is all about human capital management? It's not only your managerial and operative functions. It's basically to understand, or all these things should be related to ultimately we are achieving what? Individual, organizational, and societal objectives, which has to be accomplished. So planning, organizing, directing, control, coordination, reporting, and budgeting with procurement, development, compensation, integration, maintenance, and separation of human capital to the end individual, organizational, and societal objectives are accomplished. I'm sure now you got some idea. So with this diagrammatic figure, we will be able to understand what exactly human capital development, which is having a 6 pillars, and which we are going to deal, in detail now. And procurement, development, compensation, integration, maintenance, separation, and the objectives to be accomplished. That is individual, organizational, and societal. So with this, human capital development, I think we understand, which is the most vital and plays a pivotal role in developing, SMEs or MSMEs. So with the very first point, that is procurement, let's go through what exactly we have various bulleted points here. Job analysis, human capital planning, which can call as a manpower planning, recruitment, selection, uh, placement, induction, transfer, promotion, separation, and redeployment. I will say instead of redeployment, I will say reinstating. uh, I think that would be much appropriate actually. So when you talk about the procurement, various fundamentals which have to understand. The very first point is in this job analysis. What exactly job analysis stands for, or what exactly the meaning of this? It's a scientific and systematic analysis of a job in order to obtain all pertinent facts about the job. It's a process of determining by observation and study the task which comprise the job, the method and equipment used, and the skills and the attitudes required for successful performance of the job. It is collecting and analyzing the data to a job. Basically, job analysis consists of three things: job description, job specifications, and job evaluation. When you talk about job description, it's it's a purpose and scope of the job. For example, like summary, duties, responsibilities, working conditions. So what exactly you are supposed to do? So whether you have a proper job description when you are recruited, if you don't have, then what what are you here for? So that's very important. Job specifications. Job specifications, which talks about a person who is required for a given job, like department, qualification, age, gender, attributes like health, fluency in some language, or computer language. He should be very fluent in basics of computers. So all these specified things will be there in the job specifications. And when we talk about job evaluation, the process of ascertaining the relative worth of the job, it's basically related with the salary. It's a which talks about the worth of that particular job, not of that particular individual. So when you talk about the job analysis, so these are the three fundamentals one has to do. And all these aspects which we generally discussing, they're all missing in many of the SMEs and MSMEs actually. And we have been, doing a lot of work in SMEs and MSMEs, and we generally tell them, this is how we should understand the professionalism, and how we can compete in the market, especially in the international market. Otherwise, we will leave behind ourselves. Next point is human capital management. Generally, I'll call it as a manpower planning also. So it is a process by which management determines how an organization should move from its current manpower position to its desired manpower position. Through it, management strives to have the right number and the right kind of a people at the right place at the right time. So right person doing the right thing at the right time, and right kind of a people. So it ensures optimum use of human capital to forecast future requirements basically. And it if identifies any, for example, any future requirement, it helps the organization to deal with technological changes, demographical changes, any further changes. Because in the first slide we talked about, when you talk about human capital development, which talks about managing change too. Because time changes, people changes. That's why organization also changes. If you don't change, so it will be a history. So organization will be a history. So that is what is a human capital, manpower planning. So next point in this procurement is recruitment. So it is a process of searching for prospective employees and stimulating and encouraging them to apply for the job in the organization. A laid down policy will enhance MSME's productivity basically, and it can be done from various internal, as for transfers, promotions, and as well as for externals also, that is advertisements, placements, agencies, employment exchange, and labor contractors will be there, factory gate recruitment, and etc. So when we talk about this uh, place selection. So generally, recruitment and selection goes hand in hand. So recruitment generally we call it as a very positive aspect, and selection we call it as a negative aspect. Because in recruitment, and why we call it as a positive aspects, because we are attracting people to apply for a particular job, and in selection we are cutting down, we are selecting the best what we have or who has applied. So when you talk about the selection, it's choosing the most suitable person out of the all applicants we receive. So generally, we have preliminary interviews, application blank for application selection phase. Nowadays, a lot of psychological testing is being done. Uh, but we have to use this things in MSMEs also. For example, like in 1958, William Schultz. So it's a FIROB, fundamental of interpersonal relations for the behavior. So this is generally used for what kind of a person you are. So whether you're a team player or not. So generally we use a lot of psychometric tests and like that. So medical examinations, reference checks, final approval, etc. So all this will come, when we talk about selection. So when you talk about the placement, it is a process of assigning a specific job to each one of the selected candidates. I think it's nothing, very big thing about it. And because ultimately, when you recruit and select and place them, then you do the induction. So because it helps the candidates overcome nervousness, build confidence and understand the peers, understand the bosses, understand the organizations, understand the work culture, understand the atmosphere in the organization, which is a very, very important because he has to work there. And when you talk about the transfer, which is the next point, actually, basically if required and if you have a branches, to understand various cultures. But sometimes transfers can be punishments also, because in various you have various branches, you're not able to perform very well here. So maybe for some change, or maybe for some better future prospects, you will be transferred. Or some mischief, for that also you need to be transferred actually. And this all is something which is very, very related with SMEs and MSMEs should practice to be a professionals actually. And promotions, yes, it motivates the employee, refers to advancement of an employee to a higher post, carrying greater responsibilities, higher status and better salary. Generally, it is an upward movement actually. And when you talk about this separation with redeployment, I say reinstating, because nowadays in many organizations, we are valuing people. We should value the people, and we know what kind of people are required. Just because he's having a retirement age, he should not be retired. Okay, you have a process, follow the process, but there will be some very valuable people actually. You want to retain them, so you just reinstating them as an advisor or for some marketing strategies, and especially MSME should focus on these things. And when you talk about separations, generally it takes place when his or her service agreement with the organizations come to an end and leaves the organization. So it may occur due to resignations, to retirement. It's sometimes deaths, dismissal, layoff, resignation, and like that. So this is all about the procurement. When you talk about development, this is something which is very, very important, very, very important, because generally in SMEs, we feel that, okay, with the time, people will understand, people will develop, people will groom themselves. It's not the right thing to do, or it's not the right approach or right attitude, basically. So when you talk about development, we are talking about these four aspects here. The very first aspects is actually performance appraisal. We are talking here about the overall development of an individual working with an SMEs or in SMEs actually. So it's a periodic and impartial rating of an employee, excellence in matters pertaining his job, present job, and potential for higher jobs. It helps provide feedback to understand vis-a-vis standards for achieving the standards fixed for a particular job, how he has to perform that particular job. It helps establish performance standards, communicating with the standards. That's what we call this generally as a feedback, measuring performance, comparing with standards, discussing results, and taking the corrective actions. And this generally should be followed in MSMEs. And I'll show you in our coming slides, that when we go for this kind of professionalism or professional aspects, when we take all these things, so what kind of a changes it will bring in MSMEs actually. So training, generally we don't consider training, which is very important. Okay, he's not when it calls us executive development, the training we feel actually, okay, He's not that important. He's not doing any work. Okay, chalo, come on, let him send for the training. But that's not the objective. That's what we are failing at. So we have to train people. We have to invest on the people. You don't invest, don't expect. So it is a process of increasing the knowledge and skills for doing particular job. It's basically to bridge the gap between job requirements and present competence of an employee. It aims at improving the behavior of a person and is a continuous process basically. And when you talk about executive development, yeah, it's overlapping. But when you talk about uh, training and development, generally we focus executive development means it's basically for the managerial positions. So basically managerial management development, which is a it's a process of learning and growth by which managerial persons gain and apply knowledge of skills, attitude, and insights to make the work in your organization effective and efficiently. Basically, it's a long-term process. It will also focus on requiring capabilities for future managerial tasks for increasing difficulty and the scope of the work. So that's basically the difference between the training and executive development. Training can be short term, but generally executive development considers to be in a long term basis. And career planning and development, generally we feel and we see, we observe in many of the SMEs, especially in micro and small, uh, this is the lacking, that is career planning and development. Because by which one select career goals and the path in the organizations, and if it's missing, it demotivates after some time. So basically it's a sequence of separate but related work activities that provide continuity, order and meaning of for an individual working in the organizations. So it's a process of developing human resources, because stagnation people doesn't want. They want, after some time, they want some recognition. They want to go to the higher positions after some time. So absenteeism also will come down. Next is when you talk about the third aspect, that's a compensation. Very important, compensation. We are all working for the salary. We are working for money. Yes. So when we talk about compensation, we talk about three aspects. That is job evaluation, wage and salary administration, and incentives. So who doesn't want incentives? But before we'll start with job evaluation, it's an attempt to determine and compare the demands which the normal performance of a particular job makes of normal workers without taking into account the individual abilities or performance of the workers concerned. It is a process of analysis and assessment of jobs to ascertain reliably their relative work using the assessment as a basis for balanced wage structure. It's related with the you know wages. And when you talk about it's a worth, basically we are seeing the worth of that particular job. So when you talk about the wage and salary administration, it's the administration of employee compensation management basically as a whole. So or wage and salary administration, you can call it as. It involves formulation and implementation of policies and programs which relates to wages and other forms of employee compensation. It is to establish a fair and equitable remuneration, to attract the competent employees, to retain existing employees, to improve productivity, to improve union management relations in the organizations, to improve public image of the organizations also. And when you talk about incentives, I think it will definitely everybody wants something extra. Yeah, but it's a very formal system where directly or indirectly related to productivity and profitability, uh, of the organization. And incentives include all the plans that provides extra pay for extra performance in addition to regular wages for that particular job. It's a financial motivation basically, and they're designed to stimulate human efforts by rewarding the person over and above the time related remuneration for improvements in the present or targeted results. Basically it's a managerial device for increasing the workers' productivity, uh, to give the incentives, and it's a method of sharing gains of productivity with workers by rewarding them financially for their increased rate of output. So when we talk about the next aspects, which is called integration, the very important aspects actually, and here we'll discuss about the motivation, job satisfaction, grievance redressal, conflict management, and discipline. Sorry. So motivation, I hope everybody heard about it actually, and we all wanted, people to be motivated. We all wanted, motivated employees in our organization. We always wanted to be motivated employees around us, whose morale is also very high. Who keeps you or who gives a very positive vibrance to you. Definitely, I'm sure, because definitely you don't want to be a people who are quite negative and who always keep on pulling or keep on saying something bad. So definitely this is something which is very which will create a positive atmosphere. These are basically the attitudes, feelings, and emotions of employees, which plays a vital role in determining their performance and behavior, and these in turn determine the success and growth of the organization. And a happy employee is basically a productive employee. I'll repeat it here. A happy employee is a productive employee. So please check yourself. Are you happy? And SMEs, I'm going to tell you that please check once again whether your employees are happy. If it's not, conduct some small survey and try to find out what is the reasons, what are those hindrances, why they are not motivated, and find out and try to solve the issues, because in the long run it is not going to help these organizations to participate, even to participate at the international level. It's not possible. So job satisfaction, very much related with motivation and job satisfaction. So it is the end feeling of a person after performing a task. It's an end feeling actually, whether I'm satisfied or not. So I would like to mm, just quote here Mr. Hopok. He's a psychologist. So he he says actually what exactly job satisfaction is all about. He says it's a combination of psychological, it means related to your mind, you're related to your brain, physiological, body, and environmental circumstances, your working culture, where are you, your family. This is also an extended family. You are almost spending your most of the life in your organization, and that will make and create you. So environmental circumstances that cause a person to truthfully say, I'm satisfied with my job. So it's you who has to tell, are you satisfied? So if it's not, then definitely there is something which has to relook. Grievance redressal, any feeling of the dissatisfaction and injustice which an employee has about his employee has about or his employment relationship. So grievance is an in any dissatisfaction or feeling of injustice in connection with one's employment situation that is brought to the attentions of the management. Generally, a grievance is any discontent or a dissatisfaction, whether expressed or not. It's whether it's valid also, whether it's valid or not, and it's arising out of anything connected with the company that an employee thinks, believes, or even feels is unfair or unjust or inequitable. So when we talk about the next point, that is a discipline, which is the most important and crucial. Generally, we face in we observe in uniform services, but generally in the civils, we generally don't see much of this particular aspects. Sorry, yeah. So what exactly discipline means and why it's so much important for all of us? It's an orderliness, or the absence of disorder, chaos, and confusion in human behavior in action. It is a force that prompts individuals or groups to observe rules, regulations, standards, and procedures deemed necessary for an organization. That is basically to accept willingly the rules, regulations, standards, and procedures of the organization from the employees, to develop the feeling of cooperation among the employees, to keep and maintain good industrial relations in the organization, to develop sense of tolerance and respect for each other, respect for human dignity. The next aspect, which we're talking about, human capital development as a whole, and the next pillar is maintenance, which is a very, very important point. And in maintenance, we're talking about health, safety, social security, welfare schemes, personal records, and the last but not the least, which we talk about HR audits. So, what do you mean by health? It's just complete physical? Yes? No, that's not the right answer. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, and not merely the absence of any disease. That's what this health is all about. It's an outcome of the interaction between the individual and his environment. The main physical factors which generally influence workers are cleanliness, lighting, temperature and ventilation, freedom from noise, dust control, working space, sitting arrangements, you know, and in some cases, chemical substances we have, biological hazards, environmental hazards, X-rays in hospitals, atmospheric conditions. So cleanliness, disposal of waste and effluents, ventilation, temperature, dust, fumes, artificial humidifications, overcrowding, lighting, drinking water, urinals, washrooms, pitoons. But generally, we all have all these things, according to the law and should be provided. But unfortunately, uh, in many of the SMEs and MSMEs, we don't find it actually. So when you talk about safety, industrial safety and efficiency are directly related to each other. If you don't feel that you are safe, you will not be highly productive. So safety measure prevents accident and ensure a regular flow of work. And safety also helps to improve the morale and productivity of workmen. And it contributes to teamwork and sense of belongingness among all. That's what which is very very important. And if you, I just wanted to tell here some small formula which will be very useful for all the SMEs and MSMEs to understand how we can calculate, or when you talk about safety, generally we talk about you know accidents, so or the incidents actually. So I just wanted to, tell small formula. So we talk here about the two main ratios generally used to measure accidents and frequency rate and severity rate. So accident frequency rate is the number of time lost accidents or injuries per employee per 1 million man hours worked. So per 1 million man hours worked. An accident severity rate means the total number of days lost because of accidents per million man hours worked. So what is the formula here? So I'll repeat the formula here. If you want to see accident frequency rate, so number of injuries. So number of injuries multiplied by 1 million divided by total number of man hours worked. I'll repeat, accident frequency rate is what? It's number of injuries multiplied by 1 million divided by total number of man hours worked. And when you talk about accident severity rate, so number of man days lost, all everything same. Number of man days lost multiplied by 1 million divided by total number of man hours worked. So if you have a systematic and up-to-date records of industrial accidents or incidents and steps taken to prevent them, definitely SMEs or MSMEs will be able to rectify those issues, and they will try to minimize the accidents or the incidents in the near future. So social security, I hope everybody wants the social security whenever we are in the job, whether it's a private, whether it's a government, whether it's a multinational, whether it's some SMEs, whether it's MSMEs. Everybody wants some social security. So social security is a protection which society provides for its members through a series of public measures against economic and social distress that otherwise would be caused by the stoppage or substantial reduction or earnings of resulting for sickness, maternity, employment, injury, unemployment, old age, death, the provisions of subsidies for families with children, etc. Many things. Yeah, so generally the scope of social security is very, very wide and huge, and it differs from countries to countries. Because in Japan it will be a different social security. In US it will be a different. In India it will be different. And based on the characteristics of the developing nations, and underdeveloped nations also. So when you talk about the social security and also social insurance also, with small contribution from employees, social assistance like medical care, sickness benefits, old age benefits, retirement benefits, employment injury benefits, family benefits, maternity benefit, there are so many benefits actually which can be provided with a minimal contribution. And it can happen. And I would like to, state, small example of India, where we have There are many acts actually, but one just act I would like to focus upon is Employee State Insurance Act. This is an organization, it's a corporation established in the year 1948 uh, to see uh, it's a scheme basically, employee state insurance scheme, which says that employee or the workman or the worker whose monthly salaries does not exceed 21,000 per month, they are entitled for this particular scheme, and 25,000 for those people or employees or the workmen who are differently able. So what exactly is, this Employee State Insurance Act? It talks about various benefits. It talks about, cashless facilities, in the hospitalization. It's just like an other insurance where the premium is too low. It's very low, and it's, you have to contribute very less, but the effects for the death, for the funeral benefits, for maternity benefits, for injury, everything is covered with a very small and minimal amount. So that is what is important uh, for each and every person here. So welfare schemes. So yeah. So when we talk about the welfare schemes, it's basically it means, anything done for the comfort and improvement. So social of the employees over and above the wages paid, which is not necessity of the industry. According to, ILO report, if you talk about ILO report, welfare may be understood as including such services, facilities, and amenities which may be established in or in the vicinity of undertakings to perform their work in healthy and congenial surroundings, and to avail of facilities which improve their health and bring high morale. What are those facilities? Which can be transportation, recreation, consumer cooperative stores, first aid box. Because if you talk about, Factories Act in India 1948, for every 150 workmen you should have a first aid box. For every 250 workmen you should have a canteen. For every 30 women employees you should have a creche. For every 500 person you should have a one welfare officer. And you should have a, washing facilities, you should have a facilities for drying clothes, you should have a facilities, to sit for the occasional rest, for taking some occasional rest. So these all are, there are too many actually. I'm not going into depth, but these are the concepts actually which one has to understand when you talk about human capital development, especially for the MSMEs and SMEs. One has to understand all these things actually, because to grow you have to be professional. So next point is personal records. What is personal records? It's maintaining control over the operations is an important function of each and every, you know, human capital in the organization. That doesn't mean each and every person has to keep this. It's the departmental work. It's the HR department work. It's the duty of the personal manager to evaluate periodically how effectively the human resources are being utilized for exercising personal control, personal records, reports, research, and audit, which are required. These are the main tools of personal control. Not personal, it's personnel control. Main tools for personal control. So, and these all records are the employee records and various records of all the employees. It refers to the documents and files relating to the human resources of the organization, which contains what? Information on manpower plans, recruitment, selection, training, compensation, appraisal, job changes, job applicants, test scores, results in medical examination, job description, job specifications, labor turnover, absenteeism data, morale survey, wage and salary data. We talked about wage and salary in this question. So all these comes under what? Is all the data is comes under the records, which is personal records. And these records are maintained in the form of cards, paper, files, etc. Nowadays, they are doing everything in earlier, 15 years back, they used to consider uh, to be in some digital form. But now we are using they are going to the cloud. They are saving each and every, no papers. So everything digitalized and saved it, and for the betterment of the organizations. Very important aspect which is under maintenance is HR audits. I'm sure how many of you have heard about HR audits actually. But when you talk about SMEs or MSMEs, yes, It's not related only for big organizations. This has nothing to do with large organizations or the very, very, humongous or the mammoth organizations. No, this is all the professional stakes, which SMEs should adopt for a professional learning to get into the international markets. So that is what we are discussing today. It's all about. The HR audit is a process to evaluate a human resource department's performance. It examines various aspects of HR tasks in the companies. This can be policies, procedures, processes, documentation, systems, and many other things. So HR audit looks into the various fronts of human resource department basically. So when you talk about HR audit, is the only way you can fully assess whether your HR process and policies are benefiting or harming your overall business. Because I'm sure if you adopt this particular policies, definitely it's going to be beneficial for the SMEs as well as for the MSMEs. That's a fact. That's a truth. And we will see that how most impactful it is all about. So if you're in danger or a lawsuit or a criminal suit, and if you don't have a proper HR system or inefficient system, what will do? Your employees are not developing, or you can't attract the right employees. Your business is definitely going to hamper, definitely going to suffer. So improve these areas, and you can improve your chances for success. So generally, when you talk about compliance with legal issues, we should have, a legal expert. When you talk about the best practices in HR, we should have a proper expert in HR. When you talk about the performance management system, competitiveness, relatedness to compensation packages, employee records, we talk about benchmarking, we talk about employee handbooks, hiring, and onboard, processing, which all should be updated and all should be part of HR audits, which is a very, very, important and the crux of the human capital development, which is one of the aspects. So moving to the next, now we're going for the separation, which is the last pillar of this particular human capital development. What exactly you mean by? I I I think you heard about all these jargons actually, but just let's have just a small revision and to understand actually. So layoff, a temporary removal of an employee from the payroll of the organization due to circumstances beyond the control of the employee. It may last for an indefinite period, but the employee is not terminated and is expected to be called back in the future. That is what is called layoff. Retirement, it's the main cause of separations of employees from the organization. It may be, it may be compulsory retirement scheme, premature retirement, voluntary retirement. For example, people are not performing. You can give, you don't have to wait for 60 years or 58 years or 62 years, whatever in your country or in the SMEs. You can give before that compulsory retirement scheme. There's nothing wrong in that, because what we want a competent people doing extraordinary jobs. That's what is important. We don't expect too much, but it should be commensurating with the wages, what we are going to pay and what we are paying, and what is, how it's related in the market. Golden handshake is a stipulation in an employment agreement which states that employer will provide a significant severance package if the employee loses their job. It is basically provided to the top executives in the event that they lose employment because of retirement, layoffs, or for any negligence actually. Here, redeployment, I will again say, instead of redeployment, I'll put a point here as reinstatement, because I earlier also discussed, it refers to the placing of a worker back in a job which he has lost without loss of seniority or other job benefits, or the employee should be returned to the same job, or whether it's substantially similar, he can be called back. Why to lose a very, very efficient workman just because he has attained the age of superannuation? Keep him as an advisor, you know give him some of your benefits and take his, rather than somebody else making it more worth. Keep him, retain him. That's very important. So development of SMEs through human capital development in a nutshell. Even though many SMEs owners in a general speak about HR management as a crucial, factor, human capital development is, but not yet understood by SMEs or MSMEs. That's what we have, done a lot of studies and we have understood basically. Because human capital is accumulated knowledge and skills existing within the organizations and representing employees' capital. It can be measured by employee acquisition and maintenance, cost of employee training and development, and an ability to motivate actually or innovate too. But management of human intellectual capital means giving the employees a chance to develop, as that will increase their corporate knowledge base, both for the individual and for the organization as a whole. Yes, good working conditions and a good reputation help the organizations to be attractive and maintain and develop its human capital for future. So human capital refers to the knowledge, skills, and experience of the employees that is mainly based on individual abilities, knowledge, know-how, talent, education skills, experience of employees in the organizations. Yes, I think these are all self-explanatory. So the small things actually. So when you talk about the development of SMEs through human capital development in a nutshell, and we are just discussing about here, this is human capital can be categorized into three, categories, which is capability and potential, motivation and commitment, innovation and learning. So when you talk about capability and potential, which refers to the educational level, professional skills, competencies, which they shows, exhibit, experience, attitudes, personal networks, values, and the ability of current employees to evolve within the organization. And when we talk about motivation and commitment, which refers to whether employees align their own interest with those of the firm. Are we going in the same direction? What exactly we are required to do? Or, are we going in some other direction? So it should be aligned. While innovation and learning shows the degree to which the employees are open to change, which is the most important thing. Most important thing. Because you have been seeing this pandemic. And this particular pandemic, nobody is because before the pandemic, nobody has thought about wearing masks, wearing gloves, or like using sanitizers. We never thought about this. But now, if you see everywhere, we are using masks, we are using sanitizers, we are using gloves. For what? For our own protection. And that is what is the change which is required. We keep on saying, we keep on saying, we keep on threatening the employees or the people actually, but until unless they understand the value, they understand the objective, they won't practice. So the knowledge and the leadership style of the owner is very important in creating a better communication environment with employees, which simultaneously develop a positive culture and high achievement of the SMEs. Yes, it's very, very important because generally we don't have too many people in SMEs. We don't have, thousands. No, we don't have. So the owner plays a very, very vital role here to understand how he or her employee is all about, and how to groom and how to develop him. So the lack of formal systems in the existing stage basically witness the informal communication system and the organizational structure of the SMEs, where the employees rely on the owner's instructions as the only source in carrying out their tasks, which is very, very informal, very unprofessional, uh, which should not happen. Because if you want to talk about at the international level, or where you have to compete at the international level, you have to be very professional. Your approach should be professional, your attitude should be professional. So we have to develop, we have to groom ourselves, we have to invest in the people. That's something which is more important. When you talk about the classifications, I just want to discuss small thing about uh, in India, my mother nation actually. So here we have a classification of micro, small, and medium enterprises actually. So investment in plant and machinery or equipment, where you have 143,000 US dollars to 715,000 US dollars. So that comes under micro, where it's 1.43 million US dollars and up to 7.15 million dollars, which comes under small, you know, enterprises, and where you have more than 7.15 million US dollars and up to 35.75 million dollars, which is called as a medium enterprises. So generally, what happens? Uh, some some countries is medium enterprises can be some countries you know yeah, sorry micro enterprises actually, and some small enterprises can be some others micro. So it all differs from country to country, nation to nation, region to region actually. So that's what I just wanted to say. And if you see SMEs and overview, especially in Southeast Asia, and this is the data from ADB, the very latest report which was released in the month of October last year. So they have accumulated this particular data from 2010 to 2019 for a decade, and it shows in a percentage. Number of SMEs to the total enterprises among us, more than 97%. More than 97%. SMEs employees to total employees, more than 69%. It's almost 70%. 70% of the employees are in SMEs. They're working with SMEs and SMEs. 90, more than 97% in enterprises, MSMEs. And the contribution to the national GDP. What is GDP? It's a gross domestic product. What exactly it is? Income from all sources. What sources? Primary, that's agriculture, secondary, industries and tertiary services. So income from all the sources is a contribution. So it's your national, income. So the contribution to the GDP is more than 41%. 41%. And what is the export? Total value export is again more than 20%. More than 20%. With this own slide, with this just one slide, can we understand the importance of the SMEs in Southeast Asia? I think yes. The answer will be yes. This is how the SMEs plays such a vital role. MSMEs plays such a vital role. Employment generation, the highest. In India, after railways, it's MSME. So this is how the priorities has to be given to MSMEs and SMEs. But unfortunately, SMEs, how much priority they have been giving for what? Let's see this thing also. We have a different type of processes, and we have least important and most important. So 1 stands for most important, 9 stands for least important. So which is the rank of preferences. So just see, it's more than 188 nations has participated. Sorry, 188 organization has been participated, and see what exactly the slide shows us. Production, process, and services. Number 1, we are interested in production, process, service. That's it. Number 2, business activity and sales. Production, sales, production, sales. Financial management, wealth maximization, profits. That's the third. Quality management. Now it's coming because this is not a priority. So, okay, we are thinking now about the quality, which comes in fourth. Marketing. Fifth, unfortunately, people who has to be developed, who has to be groomed, who are the backbone of the any SMEs or the MSMEs. Human capital development. The rank is sixth. Internal communication. How you are going to achieve various talks and success if you don't properly communicate with your people. Ranking is seventh. Social responsibility. Social responsibility. I think if it's not there, I think that would have not been in the preference. Communication with the public media. We are hardly bothered. We don't. It doesn't matter for us. What matters? What production, finance, business activity, and sales. That's it. This all, if we see properly, everything is interrelated. Everything is interrelated. And if you don't understand our people, our processes, you may succeed in the short run, but in the long run, you'll be a history. So that's why SMEs and MSMEs should have and should adopt the professional approach. Nearly 60%, if you see the overview characteristics actually, yeah, nearly 60% of SMEs in Southeast Asia do not have HR strategies. I'll repeat, 60% of the SMEs and MSMEs doesn't have HR strategies. And the remaining 40%, which have some strategy, out of that, 34, 34.04% of them, their HR strategy is in non-written format and usually informal or informally communicated. So can you imagine that out of 10%, it is 94% doesn't have proper HR strategies. They don't have written documents. Then how they follow? Then what we follow? So this is the matter or area of the concerns. Only 5.96%, 5.96, just 6% related to, not even 6%, it's close to 6% having the strategy in written form because they understood the importance and they are going to compete in the long run and they have the written strategy in the written format. So when you talk about one study which I just quote here in tech, say by the Intech actually, Darja, Halatova and Monica, they have conducted 188 organization studies and they have seen the positive impact which were impact was observed after the introduction of strategic management principles. It means human capital principles. If you introduce, if you observe, if you introduce in your organization, 27% of the organizations have shown positive impact. 27%, that's a big mark where you doesn't have 94% doesn't have written strategies. 27% of the organization have shown positive impact. It means they understand the importance of the human capital development. 44% achieved in decision making and reducing cost. Very good. It's almost 44%. They were able to make a good decisions based on this human capital development aspects, based on the data which were available because of this professional approach, because of adopting this particular processes, and they were able to reduce the cost. I don't have the figures, otherwise I would have shown how much they are going to reduce the cost, how much costing. So if you see the vital role of human capital directly and indirectly improving SMEs performance is undeniable. The limitations in physical resources, structures, land and machinery become challenges for SMEs in competing with their larger counterparts. In today's knowledge economy, SMEs must rely on workforce with human capital attributes such as education, experience, motivation, talent, skills to attain superior performance. It's a competency, my dear friends. That's a buzzword. You don't have the competencies. You're not fit. The capabilities of human capital in transforming information into valuable knowledge through other elements such as structural capital indicate that human capital is the main root of organizations' investments. SMEs and MSMEs requires to operate within the different systems, strategies, and structures. They have to adopt now. This is the right time. This is the time. There's no looking back from now. It's now or never. Trust me, guys. Therefore, as the most important assets, SMEs need to distinguish human capital according to its role in different stages to reap the fullest potential of HR, human capital, human resource. They are the resource. They are the valuable and the most valuable resource. Hence, investments in the human capital provides SMEs with advantages in value creations and performance superiority. Now, I think we have discussed enough about the SMEs, MSMEs actually. Let's see the bottlenecks faced by a lot of MSMEs. When you talk about the limited resources, we have listed down some things which based on a lot of experience, a lot of studies which you have conducted, and based on the literature surveys and other things actually, and based on the discussions too, because we have been implementing lean management in almost various clusters. So that's the reason. So limited resources, yes, they are having issues, the bottlenecks of limited resources, lack of skilled manpower, access to the financial resources, lack of information, lack of technology, lack of measuring productivity, lack of access to the international market, and lack of research and development facilities. I hope you understand this limited resources, lack of skilled manpower, lack of access to the financial resources, because majority of the people they are contributing, because we have seen the slides, they're more focuses on production or the sales or the revenue, but they're not understanding from where the financial resources, whatever the what the government schemes are there, how to achieve those particular schemes, how to participate in that particular schemes. We are interested. Lack of information, because we don't work in the clusters, we don't exchange the information, we don't exchange the technology, we don't want to share. Lack of measuring productivity, we are not interested, we are not bothered, we are only bothered about the ratio of input towards output. No, it's just you know example. We have to go beyond that. It's more than just in the ratio of input towards output. It's more to do with your attitude. Lack of access to international market. We don't want to grow, we don't want to develop, but we wanted to go into international market. So, my dear friends, there's a lot of chances. There are a lot of things. You are one of the best. You are contributing. You are very important for each and every, nation. You are very important sector. You cannot be neglected. So please try your best. Be professional. Have a, develop a professional approach. Lack of research and development facilities. Many of the SMEs have this bottlenecks because of lack of, resources, lack of financial things. Most important is the lack of financial things, funding. So research and development, they will not be coming with the very innovation products. So how to overcome challenges and bottlenecks in SMEs? There are many bottlenecks, but we have written something due to the time constraints actually. So proper funding from the government. Yes, they have schemes. I have gone through the report, but but still I feel government should come forward and you know in much better way and somewhat better they have to fund it, because of this pandemic it has been a big I think that's a big change and big gap which MSMEs has developed. So proper funding from the government will be a big role to be played. Transfer of technology. We are talking about Industry 4.0. We're talking about, I was in Japan in 2019. We talk about Society 5.0. So see, this is what is called transfer of technology. We have a center of excellence for Industry 4.0. We have done projects on Industry 4.0. We have developed a technology, a small technology, an instrument which help in saving the energy, for this MSMEs. A very minimal amount you have to pay, and with this NPOs, with the help of IITs, you know, you come forward with us, and we will help you out. It's a small device. We will fix it. You have to pay a very minimal amount. That's it, and that will give you maximum returns. So we will. So big industries, German industries, industries like Japanese industries like Toyota, the transfer of technology is happening. Participate in that. Very, very important in today's, days technology. Human capital development. We have talked enough about the human capital development, which is again I am saying, which is the most precious, most important. It's a value to your organizations. So please keep that value, respect that particular value. Access to the market, specialty, especially in the international market, especially international market. To participate in the international market and to have access to the international market, we have to raise our standards above. We have to raise that particular bar above. We have to come to that particular level to participate there. Once we participate, once we raise all that above, then only we can have the access to the international market, because the international market is quite competitive, my dear friends, quite competitive. And the products, if you see, they're quite good with very minimal this one pricing. So international market is always open. Access to the finance from larger organizations. Here I would like to definitely request the organizations, a big mammoth organizations, to come forward, keeping in mind of this particular pandemic which we are all facing, despite having this the treatment, the vaccine. um, because larger organizations should come for two things. Basically, for first is hand holding for transfer of technology. Basically, that's a hand holding, and the second thing is for the finance. For the finance, so that's where I definitely feel the larger organization should contribute for the SMEs, and government should also request them so that MSMEs are the very crucial for all of us. We should not forget that those aspects of MSMEs actually. So if we take care of MSMEs, they are going to take care of all of us. So let's not forget about that. So legal and regulatory environment. This is something which is very important. The owner or the entrepreneur, because generally we have land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. That's it. Why we don't have, when we talk about people, why we don't have an experts? Why I only have to do each and every job? Am I the expert in each and everything? No, I cannot be. So please, we have a professional approach. Develop that professional attitude. Invest, invest. It will give you the returns. That's for sure. Money makes money. That's right. Infrastructure. Now in India, if you talk about, we are coming with a lot of industrial parks, GTZs. We are coming with a lot of clusters. So I think government should come up with infrastructure facilities, with very common facilities to MSMEs. They should provide them some common areas. So infrastructure is something which is very important. Rather than some MSME or at one place and the distance is almost some miles or some many kilometers, I think that will not work out. So let's have a proper infrastructure. Let's develop proper industrial parks, so that the somebody's finished product can be somebody's raw material, somebody's raw material can be somebody's finished products, vice versa. It will be like that, and overall they can develop. They should not waste or invest time or money in other things when it can be available by the support of the infrastructure. Now, I would like to call upon this. I think this will be my last slide, uh, and which we talk about SMEs in the near future. How we can adopt and what we can adopt to be the better SMEs and the best or professional approaches. So I have made some points here. The very first point is change. Are we ready for the change? Are we adopting the change? That's the first question one has to ask by himself or herself. Are we? If not, then this particular discussion or this particular presentation is not for you. But if the answer is yes, then my dear friends, I'm telling you, it's the methods and manners in which a company describes and implements change within both its internal and external processes. This includes preparing and supporting employees, establishing the necessary steps for the change, and monitoring pre and post change activities to ensure successful implementations. We should be ready. We should be ready. A soldier. Who is a soldier? There's nothing called good soldier or bad soldier. A soldier is a person who is always ready for the war. A student. Who is a student? A student who is always ready for, giving for the examination. Who is always ready for the examination. Like that, as an employee, it's not the question of good employee or bad employee. An employee, as an employee, we should be ready for the change. As an SMEs, as MSMEs, yes, it's a market. It's a mixed market economy. So we should adopting the changes. So that's more important. Significant organizational change can be challenging, basically. Yes, it's often requires mainly levels of cooperation and many involve different independent entities within the organization. But definitely a step-by-step approach is required, and developing a structured approach to a change is critical to help ensure a beneficial transition while mitigating disruptions. Definitely. You adopt the change, overnight, you're collapse. You're finished. Step-by-step process. People are with you. That's what SMEs should develop competency mapping. developed in 1970s basically. The ability to perform a given task. Are we competent enough? It's a simple thing. Whether I'm able to perform the given task, that is what is my competency is all about. And earlier we talked about strategic, functional, behavioral, managerial competencies. There are four types of competencies. But this is all. But why we should go for this competency mapping? We should go for this competency mapping because we have to identify. We have to do the SWOT analysis of the individuals of the organizations as a whole. The SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Strengths should be linked with the opportunities, and weaknesses should be linked with the threats. Otherwise, there's no meaning of doing this SWOT analysis. So once we do the SWOT analysis, we come out with this, competencies, identified competencies, then definitely we can have assessment development centers, which we generally do for, various SMEs, MSMEs actually. And later we go and, give them an IDP, which is called individual development plan, which they monitor periodically with their bosses, and which definitely gives them very good results. It's not nothing to do with everybody. You cannot be champ each and every time. It's not possible. I'm sure there is no person in the world who has tasted only success in his life continuously. No, nothing like that. So that's what where this also professional approach also brings us. We have to adopt all these particular policies. Do you have HR policies and manuals? We already have the answers. No, it's only 5.96. That is close to 6%. We have a written documents. Why we don't have? Because we don't give importance. If you don't give importance to policies and manuals, how are you going to have in HR parameters like recruitment, selection, placement, transfer, promotion, separation, performance appraisal, training, development, wage, salaries, career path, incentives, safety aspects, welfare schemes, personal files, all this, how it is possible? It should be incorporated, should have a laid down systems at place to compete in the international market. Forget about international market, to call as a professional organization, you should adopt all these policies. Quality circles in professional circles, this is something Japanese has been doing wonders in these things, and we are copying this. That is also transfer of knowledge. Adopt these things. It's just 6 to 8 persons identifying, voluntarily coming and identifying some small issues, sitting together, discussing and coming out with some some small solutions. We have a lot of, it's a big subject basically. All these are the very big subjects, but I'm just telling in the short. Go for the brainstorming, 6 to 8 people, that's it, in your office timing, or after the office timings, just for 50 to 20 minutes. Can't we, for our own mother organizations, can't we give that particular time? We have to, we have to. And a very small issues, we can take it and we can solve it. We can try to solve it by our own selves. Otherwise, the next level, by the head of the department, by the next level, by the the group group heads, or by the next level to the top. So it how it works. And professional circles, it's basically quality circles is for the workmen, but professional circles is basically we concentrate on the officials, managerial people. So mentoring and coaching, again, this is a very important thing. Mentoring, when we talk about coaching and mentoring, or mentoring and coaching, various employees development programs are undertaken. I have seen in many of, because I've done a lot of studies in HR, and we have seen many SMEs and MSMEs, they are coming with these two such programs, which is called as a coaching and mentoring. And while if you talk about coaching, it's a process of training and supervising a person to better their performance actually. And on the other hand, mentoring refers to the counseling process carried on to guide and support a person for his career development. Coaching is more performance driven, designed to improve the professionals on the job performance. But mentoring is more development oriented, looking not just at the professional's current job function, but it's beyond that. It's a more holistic approach to career development. And the agenda of the mentoring is not set only by the mentee, It's basically between the mentor as well as with the mentee. And the review of performance in the form of meeting should be held monthly, quarterly. Because I suggest, you meet every 15 days to review your performance, what you want to learn from your mentor. And it's not that it cannot be vis-a-vis. A mentor can also learn many things from the mentee. But one point which I would like to say here is mentor should not be of a very senior rank, because the gap will be, the you can't bridge that particular gap, because a very senior person cannot give time for his mentees, which we have seen. That's something which is very, very important. And if you don't, develop, so whole idea is lost. Benchmarking, especially in human capital development. Yes, nowadays we are benchmarking, best in class, whether it's related with the salaries. MSMEs are, they are also comparing. I'm getting this particular that is SMEs actually. How much, we are comparing actually, and the comparison also is very good, because it improves the image of the organizations. It improves the image of the industries, of the individuals. It's a term basically. It's often used to describe performance assessment in benchmarking, which seeks to assess the competencies of an organization against best in class, wherever that is to be found. Often, this taken to mean only measures of output performance, which can be defined in quantitative term, and it can be, has a qualitative term also, because key financial ratios and other measures of output such as market share, production throughput. So there are also less tangible features of performance, which results on quality or satisfaction, such as attitude towards customers, like that. But when you talk about the benchmarking, it can be internal as well as external. You can, benchmark external with other similar kind of an organizations, and internal also with the two departments or the two subsections also. So that can also be done. So organization culture building, very, very important. This shows whether you are going to sustain in the long run or not. So the key to successful organization is have a culture based on a strongly held and widely shared set of beliefs that are supported by strategy and structure. When an organization has a strong culture, three things happens. What? Employees know how top management wants them to respond to any situations. Employees believe that the expected response is in the proper one, and the employees knows that they will be rewarded for the demonstrating the organization's values. Culture, this is the beliefs. And HR has a vital role in, perpetuating a strong culture, starting with the recruitment, recruiting and selecting applications who will share the organization's belief and thrive in that culture. HR also develops, reinforce the, orientation training, performance management programs in the inductions, and develops actually and reinforce the organization's core values, and ensures that appropriate rewards and recognitions go to employees who truly embody the embodies the values, because the person who values your organizations, who has the ethics, definitely he is doing the marketing for you, for your MSMEs. Employee suggestion schemes encourage people. Encourage your each and every employee down below line, irrespective of the designation, irrespective of positions, irrespective of anything actually. It's a, employization scheme can be described as a formalized mechanism which encourages employees to contribute constructive ideas for improving the organization in which they work. You or I may not be knowing, sitting in, air conditioned rooms, but the employee who is working hard there, he knows what exactly where the loopholes is all about. Empower him, empower her. Take suggestions from him. It's the most valuable suggestions. SMEs and MSME, please do this. This is going to, give a lot of impact. And they generally get motivation also. They will be motivated also with all these things. Job enrichment is a common motivational technique used by organizations to give an employer greater satisfaction in his work. Generally, it means giving an employee additional responsibility previously reserved for his manager, or other higher ranking positions. So generally, it's more self-management in his duties. Basically, if you talk about job enrichment, I'll just talk about job rotations and job enlargement also, because there are three terminologies. There are three ways employees, try to make jobs more satisfying. Whereas job enlargement adds broader responsibilities to a positions. Job enrichment gives the employee more vertical authority, and the objective is to give an employee more personal accountability for the work that he does. So by doing so, the employee hopes that he feels more of a sense of a self-worth from his role in the business. And when you talk about the succession planning, again, this is a very important and crucial thing, because you never know when a person will leave this particular organization and where he or she is sitting, how much crucial that particular position is all about. So it's an ongoing process that identify necessary competencies and work to assess, develop, and retain a talent pool of employees in order to ensure a continuity of leadership for all critical positions. Succession planning is a specific strategy which spells out the particular steps to be followed to achieve the mission goals, initiatives identified in the workforce planning. It is a plan that managers can follow, implement, and customize to meet the needs of their organizations, divisions, department, or subdivisions. It's basically for the crucial post. For example, if you don't have an engine driver, whether you can run a railway engine, it's not possible. You don't have a driver. Can we imagine running a bus? Now it's a different thing. We are coming up with robots. We are coming with driverless cars. That's different issues. But is it possible? You don't have people in the organizations to work. Can we imagine? So crux is identify that crucial posts and do the succession planning. Last but not the least, the career planning. It's a very important and a systematic process by which one select career goals and the path in the organizations. It is a sequence of separate but related work activities that provide continuity, order, and meaning for individual working in the organization. It's a process of developing human resources and retain the best by giving them timely promotions so as to have a clear-cut career path in front of the employees. Try to retain the best. That's what is the crux of the career planning. So with this, I would like to thank Mr. Juno Kim once again and APO for my presentation. I hope I have taken some time for this.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Dr. Kumar. So we had chance to understand the the human capital development is for the talent acquisition, talent management, and also talent optimization of workforce. And also we have 6 main areas for the human capital development: procurement, development, compensation, integration, maintenance, and separation.
Exactly.
And also for the how to overcome challenges and bottlenecks for the SMEs. So we cover the Dr. Kumar covered 3 areas, main areas, in detail. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
detailed explanation. So I have one question here. So there is a lack of resources and budget for SMEs. So what is the best way to develop the SMEs capability? Can you comment on this issue? Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Juno Kim. Actually, first of all, government should come forward for creation of industrial parks, SEZ, special economic zones, wherein we can have industrial clusters, because we all SMEs and MSMEs have to work together. They can't work in isolation. And in that, a common facilities can be created for all. A common center for an online marketing, which we can call it as a e-marketing. A small membership fee for the maintenance, very a nominal fee for the membership. Common facilities, centered for testing facilities like common foundries, common technical facilities, which can be developed for each clusters depending on needs. If a if in that particular cluster, for example, rice polishing machine, we have to bring it from Japan, which is quite expensive. Rather, they can have a good machine and it can be utilized in the rice cluster. And yeah, and whenever government needs to develop these kinds of parks or clusters, a committee of experts from the same field should be in the panel so as to understand their day-to-day issues.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So another one is what should SMEs focus to do for the human capacity development?
I
Can you
think it's
share
all about
your insight on this?
Yeah, definitely, Mr. Junukom. Actually, this is all about the topic only. So when you talk about the capacity development, which is a very, very important aspects uh, from my side, and if you're not trained, we should not expect much from the employees. After all, a trained employee is an asset always. It's simple thing which I already told that money makes money. You invest and generally, you will get returns. Maybe sometimes you may get small returns, sometimes you may get big returns, sometimes you may get late returns, but you will definitely get returns. So it all depends upon kind of a training, kind of a person actually. So whether even the training needs have been identified or not, so or just simply we are sending him or her for just a sponsor by the government sponsored program free of cost. So but I suggest some very crucial aspects which has been neglected actually, which had been neglected, and the capacity development should happen in those areas like behavioral skills in HR is a must to develop the attitudes first. IT and technology, design clinics so as to enable the government rules and to SMEs to understand the finishing and how to design a product, how to market a product. Financial management, the third aspect. Legal aspect, government rules and regulations from time to time. SMEs are generally, if you see, very busy producing goods, but some new tax benefits or some other things come up. So they should be vigilant and grab the particular offer, and those things should be organized in the common facilities and production areas like training. Create the centers where hands-on training experience. We can do simulations. In India, we have industrial training institutes, ITIs, where hands-on training is provided to the people who are, 10th pass or 8th pass, 7th pass. It's a rigorous course actually from 6 months to 2 years, and whereas they are ready for the job. So like welders, fitters, carpenters, and other areas of productions. So you save a lot on training and you get a ready to be utilized human capital. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. And next question is, how will be the crucial, what will be the crucial competitiveness factors to improve and sustain productivity for SMEs in this pandemic period? So these days, many SMEs has some difficulties to manage and overcome this pandemic situation. Can you comment on this?
Yeah, definitely. This pandemic has, if they have taught us many things, definitely they have, brought many hindrances also, especially for the MSMEs and SMEs actually. But keeping in this pandemic period, the competitive factors generally, I feel e-marketing platforms should be developed. First point, which I feel e-marketing platforms, because now everything is not physical; it's through online mode. Design clinics, very very important. Design clinic, how you design your products, how you wrap your products, how you bring your innovation to your particular things in this for your products actually. So financial institutions should come forward for the low interest rates, loans. Government should come and chip in for a grant in aid because of this particular pandemic. Because this particular pandemic was not for 1 day or 2 day or 1 month or 2 months. It's almost for a year now. And in this common facilities, which I was saying in the previous my question answer. In the common facilities, government and financial institutions can disseminate the knowledge regarding how they can overcome the bottleneck in obtaining and returning the loans hassle free. And procurement of raw materials can be done through the common facility, as someone finished products can be someone's raw material, which I was saying. So cooperative banks can also be a good extension uh, in this SMEs clusters. So that would be my answer for this.
Okay, thank you. The e-marketing platform will be the one of the answer for that.
And
Thank you.
design clinics.
So,
Design clinics.
okay.
Yeah.
So for the SMEs, how to innovate SMEs and MSMEs in this pandemic period?
I
Please.
think it's a very sure, sir, sure. Kim Sam. I think it's a very important thing actually, because nowadays we cannot expect what is happening. So better to come up with some new models and new change management techniques, and bring up some new innovations. So very first point I will emphasize here is the design clinics, which I said design clinics. So what exactly is the design clinics is all about actually? What is the innovation in that? When you talk about 3D technology, we talk about packaging, we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about the dashboards, machine learning, we talk about connecting the devices, connecting the all the workstations. So innovations has to be brought about. So what, as I mentioned, for example, before, the concepts of industrial parks, SCZ, central common facilities, like I told example of ITI and the facilities by the financial institutions, skill development, e-marketing to improve reach, all play important role. So if we can develop the more on a behavioral side of the people, first point, and I'm sure they will come up with, because if we invest on them, so they will come up with the new innovations in SMEs and MSMEs, like artificial intelligence, 3D technology. That's why I'm focusing on design clinics, packaging, production, the design, how, then connecting all these machines, and this is how they come up with more and more innovations. This will be my answer actually.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing your insight. So last question is uh, how to support capacity development for SMEs from organizations or government,
Okay,
please.
thank you. See, government has a significant contribution and it's playing a vital role. And basically, they have been doing like skill development and done to support capacity, development for SMEs actually. But without government support, industrial parks or SCZs or the clusters, making the clusters is not possible. It's not possible actually, because government intervention is required, very much required, as the area to be allocated should be strategically planned for not only receiving the raw material, but to load and upload the finished products and the timely delivery, which all matters and which is all very important for the survival of MSMEs and SMEs actually. Hence it should be near to ports, airports, or having a big facilities of near railways, which is important. And I would like to comment here is actually, it's not only the government. I think it's the NPOs, because as an NPOs, as an APO, as an NPO, we should also come forward with the capacity building activities, because I feel NPO also have a very big role to play in that. I would like to add this. So NPO should come forward with capacity development activities, and should conduct surveys or studies which will be very useful for the SMEs and MSMEs, with again, but the support from the government. Here, why I want the government is, in general, SMEs can't afford, you know, uh, that particular studies, or sometimes feel very less important and give less priorities to such activities. So NPOs and understands, because we have been doing a lot of activities for SMEs and MSMEs. So as an NPO, we understand, SMEs better. So we can carry out the studies which will be very beneficial for them. And NPOs should work very closely with the industrial association and understand the immediate needs of the clusters, and come up with short and long term plans also. And NPOs also should encourage and develop meaningful associations to bring out the relevant policies at the top level with the state governments and the central government and with all the stakeholders involvement. And for example, like how common procurement facilities to be obtained at the best price and quality. And I would like to hear add in the question, for example, which you have said, the organization, government and the organization. So organization, definitely, I feel various organizations. So mean definitely it will be larger organizations because we are anyway we are talking about MSMEs and SMEs actually. So definitely your focus is on the larger organizations. So larger organizations also has a a pivotal role to play here. Incubation centers where you can launch new products, exhibition can be supported by them, hand holding of by the larger organization will keep the supply chain management system alive, transfer of technology, all these things, larger organization can support for capacity development for SMEs, which I strongly believe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. These questions is all from my side. Any final message to the SMEs for effective human capital development? Any last message to the SMEs, please?
Thank you for this valuable opportunity. First of all, I would like to tell SMEs and MSMEs only one thing: good that government, state government, or central government, or larger organizations can come for some rescue, but it's not possible for total rescue. Understand your own value. You are very, very important. You play a significant role in developing, contributing, and shaping the future of not only industry or the people, but as a country as a whole. So please develop the professional approaches like accepting the change, have a professional approach like competency mapping, develop and have a policies and manuals, lay down policies, create some very good circles, professional circles, quality circles, develop an approach of mentoring and coaching, try to benchmark yourself with the similar organizations, not required with a larger or something big, just with your similar organization. Build a very positive culture. It's all in your hand. That's the only message with for the valued, most valued, and the best SMEs because they are the backbone of any nation and they are very important.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kumar, for your valuable time today. I hope all the viewers can get some insight on human capital development, especially for SMEs and also MSMEs from this session. Thank you very much, and APO will continuously support to increase productivity for SMEs. Thank you for joining today, and stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Juno Kim, for this opportunity, and thank you very much, Asian Productivity Organization. On behalf of National Productivity Council India, I would like to thank both of them. Thank you once again. Thank you, and stay safe. Bye.
Thank you.